Travel Documentaries, Berlin, then and now. Berlin is the capital and the largest city in Germany, and is the most populous city in the EU. Berlin has so much history. It has been the center of Germany since the 13th century. Berlin is a world city of culture, politics, science, and media, and is also a popular tourist destination. The city is also home to world-renowned universities, museums, and entertainment venues, and is host to many sporting events. To save time, I will only be covering the history of Berlin starting after the 13th century. First documented in the 13th century, Berlin became the capital of the Margrave of Brandenburg, the Kingdom of Prussia, the German Empire, the Weimar Republic, and the Third Reich. In 1415, Frederick I became the Elector of Margrave of Brandenburg, which he ruled until 1440. During the 15th century, his successors established Berlin-Cologne as the capital of Margrave, and the Hohenzollern family ruled in Berlin until 1918. After the royal palace was finished in 1451, it gradually came into use, and in 1470, Berlin-Cologne became the new royal residence. The 30 Years' War between 1618 and 1648 devastated Berlin. 1/3 of its houses were damaged or destroyed, and the city lost half of its population. In 1701, the dual state formed the Kingdom of Prussia, as Frederick III, Elector of Brandenburg, crowned himself as King Frederick I in Prussia. In 1740, Frederick II, known as Frederick the Great, came to power. Under the rule of Frederick II, Berlin became the center of enlightenment. Following France's victory in the War of the Fourth Coalition, Napoleon Bonaparte marched into Berlin in 1806, but granted self-government to the city. The Industrial Revolution transformed Berlin during the 19th century, and the city's economy and population expanded dramatically. Also during this time period, Berlin became the main railway hub and economic center of Germany. In 1871, Berlin became the capital of the newly found German Empire, and in 1881, it became a city district separate from Brandenburg. At the end of World War I in 1918, a republic was proclaimed by Philip Schedman at the Reichstag building. In 1920, the Greater Berlin Act incorporated dozens of suburban cities, villages, and estates around Berlin into an expanded city. The act increased the area of Berlin from 66 to 883 km squared. In 1933, Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came to power. The NSDAP rule diminished 1/3 of all Jewish population in the country between 1933 and 1939. During World War II, large parts of Berlin were destroyed during the Allied air raids from 1943 to 1945 and the 1945 Battle of Berlin. After the end of the war in Europe in May of 1945, the victorious powers divided the city into 4 sectors, analogous to the occupation zones into which Germany was divided. The sectors of the Western Allies formed West Berlin, while the Soviet sector formed East Berlin. In 1948, the Soviet Union imposed a blockade on the access routes to and from West Berlin, which lay entirely inside Soviet-controlled territory. The Berlin airlift conducted by the 3 Western Allies overcame this blockade by supplying food and other supplies to the city from June of 1948 to May of 1949. In 1949, the Federal Republic of Germany was founded in West Germany, while the Marxist-Leninist German Democratic Republic was proclaimed in East Germany. The founding of the 2 German states increased Cold War tensions, and in 1961, East Germany began to build the Berlin Wall around West Berlin. Eventually, events escalated to a tank standoff at Checkpoint Charlie. In 1971, a 4-power agreement guaranteed access to and from West Berlin by car or train through East Germany. In 1989, with the end of the Cold War and pressure from the East German population, the Berlin Wall fell on November 9th and was subsequently mostly demolished. On October 3rd, 1990, the 2 parts of Germany were reunified as the Federal Republic of Germany, and Berlin again became a reunified city. Berlin is special because of the historic landmarks in the city. The historic landmarks are a reminder of the city's turbulent past. My favorite part about visiting Berlin is visiting the historic sites in the city, such as the Brandenburg Gate, the Reichstag, the Berlin Wall Memorial, and Checkpoint Charlie. Here are some places you must visit in Berlin. The Brandenburg Gate is a restored 18th century gate and landmark with 12 Doric columns topped by a classical goddess statue. It reflects the country's turbulent past and its peaceful achievements like no other landmark in Germany. The Reichstag is a historic edifice in Berlin, constructed to house the imperial diet of the German Empire. It was opened in 1894 and housed the diet until 1933, when it was severely damaged after being set on fire. The memorial to the murdered Jewish Jews of Europe, also known as the Holocaust Memorial, is a memorial in Berlin to the Jewish victims of the Holocaust. The memorial was designed by architect Peter Eisenman. Potsdamer Platz is a historic square reborn since the fall of the Berlin Wall. It is now a hub of entertainment, restaurants, and shops. Potsdamer Platz was almost completely destroyed during World War II. Checkpoint Charlie was the name given by the Western Allies to the best-known Berlin Wall crossing point between East Berlin and West Berlin during the Cold War. It is a landmark boundary marking East and West Berlin with a white sentry guardhouse and cobbled borderline. The Berlin Wall Memorial is a commemorative stretch of the historic divide with a preserved section of the original wall and a memorial. It is a reminder of the division of Berlin by the Berlin Wall and the deaths that occurred there. The monument was created in 1998 by the Federal Republic of Germany and the Federal State of Berlin. The East Side Gallery is an open-air gallery in Berlin that consists of a series of murals painted directly on a 1,316-meter-long remnant of the Berlin Wall. It is also a conserved graffiti project by 118 artists, covering parts of the Berlin Wall and celebrating its demise. The food you must try in Berlin is currywurst, which gained popularity in the city with post-war construction workers rebuilding the city. Getting around Berlin is very easy, as Berlin has a very good public transportation system. The S and U Bahn are the most popular method of public transportation, but it is also very common to take the bus or tram. Whether you are a history junkie or a tourist, Berlin is a city that has something for everyone. On my next travel documentary, Shanghai, Then and Now.